It's with cover that it will. And cover is done with this hand here and with a little bit of movement, just like that. So when you are...
Hey YouTube, it's been a while. It's good to see you. So, I think the time has come for us to cover a classic of card magic. One might almost call it the classic of card magic. I think it's time we go over the classic pass. One problem though, I am not personally qualified to teach it to you. Now, just to clarify, I can do a classic pass. I could pull it off in a live performance. That's not the issue. The issue is that I haven't put nearly as much work into it as I have into other things like the spread pass, which I actually have down pretty well, if I do say so myself. And if you were going to learn about something as important as the classic pass on this channel, I would want to give you the best information that I possibly could. But that information cannot come from me, because there's nothing I'm going to say about the classic pass that wouldn't fit on a slip of paper inside a fortune cookie. So let's say that you wanted to dedicate yourself toward learning the classic pass. You need to understand something about it. It is simple, but difficult. It is simple in concept. There's really only three things mechanically you would have to learn: the grip, the transposition of packets, and the cleanup. But it's difficult because there are so many other elements outside of that that apply to how you execute it that make a meaningful difference. Things like timing, things like speed, things like subtlety, things like application, that have kept this one move in the magic literature from the late 1700s on up. And the reason it keeps showing up is because it is a move that is so strong it has stood the test of time. For decades, it was considered the first step, the gate that you personally had to walk through, usually with no help, in order to gain access to the rest of card magic. So do me a favor, find the oldest magic book that you personally have available to reference. Doesn't matter if it's a reprint or a digital copy or online, I don't care. Open it up and go through the table of contents and see if you can find a reference to something like the shift or the pass or the classic pass, and likely as not, you will find a multi-page tutorial in that book trying to teach you how to do the classic pass. Just as a couple of examples, here's a copy of Modern Magic by Professor Hoffman. Originally printed back in 1876, it is 563 pages long, and it is all meat and no fat. It's also the first magic book of its kind because it was written for a general audience, to take them from layman to magician. And yet Professor Hoffman felt that the classic pass was so important, out of all the places that he could have put it, he put the classic pass on page 12. Sleight of Hand by Edwin T. Sachs. This was originally a 2-volume venture. It was printed back in 1877, just 1 year after Professor Hoffman's Modern Magic. And this one made waves because it was the first time that sleight of hand was treated as its own specialty, as its own art form worthy of study. And right on page 84, you have the two-handed pass. Fast forward 70 years, you get to Royal Road to Card Magic. Still, to this day, considered the most effective card magic book if you're just starting out. And it would normally only cover the beginnings of how to do card magic. And yet Hugh Garden Browie felt that the pass was so important, they gave it an entire chapter smack dab in the middle of the book. And if I went into my library and pulled down every single book that I've got that thought it had something original to teach you about the classic pass, you and I would be here all day long. Which is one of the reasons why I feel the need to approach this with just a bit of reverence, because this one move has had such a profound effect on this craft. So, in order to give you the best running start I could possibly think of with this cornerstone of card magic, I'm going to reintroduce you to David Malek. If you followed this channel for any length of time, you've likely already met David Malek. He was kind enough to let me interview him, and he also came on to teach how to do the pinky count several months ago. If you want to check that out, you can find that video right up there. Now, if you looked at David Malek's career from the outside, he appears to be pretty underground. One DVD on cheating at Hold'em and 2 very specialized card magic books is likely all you would find. But his name keeps cropping up in the dedications of several of the most famous authors that you know of in magic, like Roberto Giobbi or Steve Forte, for one very particular reason. David Malek is one of the most proficient cardmen I know of, and he has been a pillar of support for me in the magic world. And where the classic pass is concerned, unlike me, David has put in the work. And when I say work, I mean decades. He has studied it, used it, abused it, refined it, and was kind enough to come on this channel and share everything that he's gained from all of that experience. So, without any further ado, allow me to reintroduce David Malek and the classic pass.
So today, I'm going to talk about what I think is one of the most important moves in card magic. Now, a lot of people think that they can get by in card magic without learning this particular move. And it's true, you can. But for me as a professional out there in the real world, I find that it is absolutely essential to be able to do the classic pass. Now, as soon as you hear the classic pass, you say to yourself, my God, that's the most difficult thing that there is to do with the deck of cards. It's actually not. It's up there, and it'll take you a long time to master it, which I don't think you ever really do. I think you just become proficient at whatever sleight of hand there is, and you can always be just a little bit better. But the interesting thing about the classic pass is that there is no substitute for it. And let's put it into context for you. Let's say a card is selected by a spectator. It's then replaced in the deck. And so with the classic pass, it's replaced what appears to be in the center of the pack, or it is placed in the center of the pack, and then the pass is made, card is brought to the top. What is the spectator led to believe? If you've done it properly, the spectator still thinks that the card's in the center. So this is what it should approximate. Card is selected and placed in the pack. So the card's in the center of the deck. That is completely unlike, for example, what a lot of people use as a substitute for that, and that is card is replaced in the deck, and then we'll cut it further into the deck just like this, and then they say, well, the card's in the middle of the deck. No, the card's not in the middle of the deck. Nobody should theoretically know where it is now. Or they have it replaced, and they do an overhand shuffle, and they bring the card back to the top of the pack. All right? Now the card is somewhere in the deck, in the spectator's mind. You can't say it's in the middle, but when you do a pass, the card is selected, placed back in the middle. The pass is then made. The card in the spectator's mind is in the center of the pack. It's also the most efficient way to get the card back to the top. It's not the easiest way, but it's the most efficient. So, for example, a lot of guys will do this, and then they'll come here and they'll double undercut, and they'll say, or they'll just hold a break, and then they'll double undercut back to the top. It's piss poor technique, in my opinion. There's a place for the double undercut. There's a place for all of these things. And there's a place for all these other passes too. The Herman pass, the Steve Drawn's Midnight Shift, all of these other passes. There's room for them. There's the right context to use them in. But as a working professional, day in and day out, there is no other control that I like to use that's as efficient and as deceptive and can be done over and over and over again to control cards. So, the classic pass. How do you learn the classic pass? It's kind of daunting in a sense because it does take so much time to learn how to do it properly. So what happens? Let's say that we're going to turn a card over so that we'll know where the center is. That's the classic pass. Except it's done, hopefully, very quickly. It doesn't have to be done very quickly, though. You can learn how to do the classic pass and get away with it in a live performance and do it quite slowly. It just depends on other factors like how good are you at misdirection, how good are you at performing, how good are you at manipulating the audience's attention. And once you get good at that, and then you get good at the pass, anything's possible. So let's do it this way. The pass in its purest form, I'm going to tilt it like this, okay, is the cards, top package, if we are absolutely efficient with the movement, should come this way, and as soon as this clears, it would come in like this. All right? But that's the ultimate. That's without wasting any space at all. Of course, we know that can't be true, right? There will be, in time, space wasted because we can't be absolutely perfect. We can get to that point, we can try to get to that point, but it will never be absolutely perfect. So a spectator selects a card, the card is returned. The top packet is put on top, except we put our pinky in there. Now, some people have come up with the idea that if the pinky is out like this, it's going to make for a better shift. There's been all kinds of people that have experimented for better or for worse. What I like to do, essentially, is to just dig my pinky in there, just like this. So there's a huge break in the bottom, at the back here. I don't worry about that. And then, that's the maneuver. So the cards were placed, and that gives it a nice finality, as if there's really no way. They don't see the pinky. And then you move it with these fingers like this, okay? But of course faster, and with a little bit of movement. A little bit of an up and down movement will help to hide everything. Howie Schwartzman, which to me, when I saw him do it, he was old when I saw him do it, did one of the best passes, but his cover was perhaps the best. He knew exactly what he was doing. In fact, potentially the best pass that I've ever seen in my life. Howie Schwartzman, when he was in his 80s, passed away now. Really one of the brilliant guys that made the pass, for lack of a better way of putting it. Anyway, so here, and what you have to think of is two things. When the top package is going to move around the bottom packet, and the bottom packet is going to get pulled through the top packet. So if we isolate these two movements, the top package being pulled up, it forces the bottom to move out of the way. So this, if we just pull up, automatically creates essentially the necessity for the top packet to be pulled into the hand. Now remember, I'm pretty rough with cards, and I have a death grip on the top packet. But when I pull, basically it goes down into the palm. So I'm pulling the bottom packet up, and at the same time, you pull the top packet around the bottom. So when you combine these two movements in the most efficient way possible, which is not the most efficient way that is possible, but as efficient as you can make it, we create the pass, the classic pass. So the way in which you practice this is you pull up so that only the bottom portion is coming through, and then you practice where you're pulling and just making the bottom portion or the top portion go around the bottom portion. So here, just like that. So you're not moving the bottom, but you are moving the top around. Now, I don't care who it is, the pass from the right-hand side in this case, unless you're left-handed, it's never, ever going to look good. It's with cover that it will. And cover is done with this hand here and with a little bit of movement, just like that. So when you are talking to people in a live, interactive environment, okay, and you're doing this, doesn't matter. I can do one every second. Like they used to say, Grasshopper, if you can do the pass once every second for a minute or 60 times in a minute, then come back and I'll teach you something else. That was actually a way to get rid of somebody, because it's going to take a long time before you're able to do that. But if you practice by taking the top packet and revolving it around the bottom packet, slowly at first, so that you get good at that movement. So that bottom packet doesn't move, it's the top one that moves around the bottom packet, and then pull the bottom packet through the top. The top packet will move out of the way, just like this. Okay? So, and now combine those two movements, and you'll have the classic pass. Now, how do we cover the classic pass? I'm not talking about covering it the way we're covering it here, but covering it in performance. You can move from one side to the other side, okay? And you can move up and down, right? It makes sense. And you can do a combination of those things. But you have to have some interaction with the people. when you're first learning how to do the pass, you have a card selected. And we'll say spectator number 1 on this side has selected the card. It's a 3 of spades. You have not seen it. You say, Johnny, put put your card back here. You put the other package on top, and then you turn around to the spectator that's over here, or over here, or over here, and you address them. You say, hey, Floyd, did you see the card? And as you do, you bring it, did you see it? And as you do that, you make the pass. You can actually make the pass very, very slowly. I'm going to stand up and do this. You can make it very slowly by coming the first person here, and then you come around and do it, and you show, and there's nothing really to see as you address this other spectator. So you go from here, right? And look, I'm going to do it very, very slowly, right? You could see the top of that. But let's now do it quickly. If I go here, 5, there's nothing to see. Okay, it's pretty fast. Or you can come from this angle. There's nothing to see there. So 5 of spades in the center. 5 of spades on top. Anyway, but when you're performing for people, unlike in this instance where I cannot misdirect your attention, you're constantly talking to everybody, and you put your card back, you remember it, right? Absolutely. So for example, here's what it is. So place your card back here, look at it, hope you remembered it, you didn't forget it. So it's done. The 4 diamonds is on top of the deck. That's how fast it can be. But again, like I'll reiterate, it doesn't have to be that fast. The 10 of hearts, you can put it here, and here, I'm already done. I'm already here with the cards. So it's here, and then look how slow I've done it. As soon as you're past this window right there, right? So here, it's placed back, you just go right here, it's done. Now, look, there it is. You can go so slowly. I'm exposing it for you. And if you were really looking at it, there's really nothing to see. And if you've mastered the efficiency of getting that top packet around the bottom packet, then there's really nothing to see. So by combining all of these things, left and right movement, up and down movement, and talking to spectators, there's really no way they're going to see anything. And I've shown you that you can do it very, very slowly and still get away with it. So when you're first learning, you have it selected, card selected, placed back here. Get past that point, and then you can talk to the other spectators on this side. You say, did you happen to see the card as well? And you can do the pass. That's how you actually learn to do it in performance. Don't worry about them trying to catch you. If you practice the mechanics so they're reasonably fluid, and then try it in front of an audience, you're going to be wobbly in the beginning. Everybody is, okay? But then slowly, as you gain confidence and realize, wow, I can get away with this, and then you practice also on your speed and technique, eventually it all comes together and gels, and you'll be able to do the pass without even thinking about it, without flinching, without anything. It has to become automatic, otherwise you're not going to be able to use it in the most under real test conditions. Anyway, enjoy. If you have comments, you have suggestions, you have whatever, you write them down below, all right? I don't know if I'll have time to answer all of your comments and questions and suggestions, but if I ever come to your town, you look for me on the marquee, come backstage, whatever, you come talk to me. I'll talk to you. I promise. I mean, I'll talk to you for a long time. It may just be hello and now get out, but I'll talk to you.
And there you go. That's David Malik and the Classic Pass. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you found it useful. And I can't thank David enough for being willing to come back on this channel and share everything he knows about the Classic Pass with you guys. Now, if you guys want to learn more about David, if you really enjoyed what he was willing to teach you, I got the chance to interview him. So if you want to learn more about his history in magic, his philosophy, his performance style, and why I've come to trust his knowledge in magic so much, I'll put a link in the description below so you can watch that interview. And as far as the Classic Pass, it's one of those moves you'll likely be refining for the rest of your life, and that's okay, so take your time with it. Once you've mastered everything David had to share with you, in the description below, I've also compiled a list of the best references that I could pull from the best card folk I know of. Some of it's video, some of it's written, but all of it should help you move further down that road. And in the meantime, we'll see you guys soon.
First you do your shtick, and then you go like this and say, hey, YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
all right, perfect. Hey, YouTube. I think that was funny.
Oh, it's good. It's good.